Oh my God, Nick Wusz.
What's up, bro?
Here we
Holy
are.
shit. That was an amazing intro.
Yeah, man. New video intro, like the
Yep.
world premiere right now. Like we're gonna be fucking millionaires off
Yeah,
of
I
this
think
shit. I'm
so,
pretty
man. That's gonna
sure.
take this shit to the next level, dude.
Next level shit. So, tell me the story about this video that you had made.
So I was for my synth project, Traveler's Rest, I had a idea to create a video. So I went on Fiverr and I just found people that were creating videos. And this guy was at the very, very bottom of the list, and his name was Fredz, and he's from Indonesia. And it was like $15, dude.
Dude, it's so
So I
cool.
created a video for my track, and it's like, this guy's amazing. He did it like one day.
What's
And so
yeah.
I asked you to give me the wave file and all that stuff for the intro music. But
Well, it's
yeah,
so funny because I've been asking the listeners to like make one, and I haven't gotten one back yet. So now, like, I don't know, still send them in. I want to see what other people do, but like that's so cool.
yeah, he did
That's
a
so
great
great.
job, this guy,
Yeah,
man. And $15 in Indonesia, it's a lot. So I guess he's happy with that. I feel kind of
yeah.
guilty, but I tipped him, dude. I tipped him
Did you?
25. So that's good. That's good
Oh
for him.
man, you gave him 25 or you tipped him
I
25?
tipped him 25, total
Dude,
40, dude. Yeah.
awesome. So he got like more than twice what he was expecting.
Yeah, yeah.
Good job, Nick. Well, thanks for doing that. That
Yeah,
was
no
that was
problem.
really exciting. Before we get too much farther, I just want to introduce our guest today, Johnny Valles from Go Ahead and Die, and pretty much every band in the world. It seems
So
like you're
many
drumming for right now. Um,
What's up, guys?
hey
stuff,
man, it's a
man.
pleasure to have you on.
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a pleasure to be on here.
As everybody knows, this is I Hate Music. We're part of the Distorted Past Podcast Network and brought to you by Earth and Sound. Join our Patreon, patreon.com/Hate Music Podcast. As always, earthandsound.org to buy Dolvin shit, Moonbladder shit, Cross Path shit. What else? I'm out of Traveler's Rest, dude. You got to bring me some more.
I'll bring you some more, dude. Yeah.
I've got my solo 7-inch. I've got right now. I've got the Paul Masvidal Moonbladder shirts that I'm selling. That comes with a free copy of the Masvidal solo record on CD and the
Awesome.
Snares of Sixes Moonbladder CD and a little autograph thank you card that Paul and I made together.
Amazing.
I've got fucking Noble Witness. I've got Self Spiller. I've got so much shit over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, check out the store. Check out our Spotify playlist. We update it for every episode. I put on a couple things that Johnny's on, and we're going to talk about that later. But you can find that in the link tree that's in our bio on our Facebook and Instagram. But I think first, I can tell that we're all really nervous about this, so I think we should do an icebreaker.
Nice. Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so Nick, I don't want to put Johnny on the spot. Oh,
Okay,
that's
I'll go
funny.
first.
Johnny on the spot. Nick, mention an album you're listening to, a film, a meal, a book, like something like that that you're really into right now.
Well, in preparation for Johnny's appearance in Portland with his band Blistering Rot, I've been listening to Laceration. That they put out an album in 2024, I think. Shit, I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's fucking great. It's
Yeah.
fucking great. It's like Suffocation without like all the breakdowns or something. There's something about
Okay.
it. Super tight, great production, and
Dude, yeah, they recorded that with Greg Wilkinson too, who's like
Oh, Greg's awesome. Yeah.
dude. Yeah, and honestly, like I've been following Laceration for a really long time. Like they used to be like more of like a thrash band, but
oh
like
wow,
Okay.
that most recent record is like I think they like came into their full form on that album. And dude, it's so good,
yeah, it
so
is.
good.
I hate to. It's called I Erode, I believe.
High
It's
Road,
called
yeah.
Yeah.
I Road. Okay. I'm gonna put that on the playlist real quick. Since I've got you here, is there a particular track that you're digging, Nick?
No, it was the whole album, but
Okay.
just pick one of them. I mean,
Okay. Johnny,
really
do you have
great.
an opinion on your favorite track off that record?
I'm kind of with Nick on this one. Like I would just the whole album's just really, really good. I couldn't really pinpoint one specific song.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to add the track called Excised then to our playlist so people can listen to that. Cool. All right, that's done. That's awesome, man. You did some research. I don't know. I have not listened
Johnny
to
here.
that. You did what?
I have a lot of questions for Johnny, so I
Oh,
was.
good.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got to grill him on this shit. Okay, so
Oh no.
Laceration. So, Johnny, what about you? Film, book, meal, something that's you've been vibing with lately?
So lately I've kind of been on a really weird like I don't know, I've just played like straightforward like grindcore death metal stuff for so long that lately
Yeah.
I've been getting more into like more rhythmic stuff, like just kind of a little more like out there. I guess this isn't really like the most out there, but since you just worked with Paul Masvidal, I've actually been going back and listening to Human a whole bunch.
Dude, of
Like
course.
that
Yeah.
album is just ridiculous, and for
It's
some reason
ridiculous.
that was one that always just kind of like I love Lack of Comprehension and stuff like that, but like I hadn't
Yeah.
really like got super into that record. So lately I've just been obsessed with it, and Sean Reinhardt is
Oh
one of my
man.
drum heroes, man. So
Yeah.
like just going back, and I guess like since I've been kind of pushing my drumming a little bit more lately, like I can
Yeah.
go back and listen to it, and I guess it like I don't want to say it makes more sense to me, but like I guess I have a better understanding of like Sean's thought process when he was like writing some of those drum parts, and just like where like what he was thinking when he was like working some of those fills in there and stuff. So yeah, it's almost like listening to it with brand new ears.
What was
So
the
it's like
first
I've
Death
been
album that you heard? Like, how did you?
Scream Bloody Gore.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I had a bunch of buddies. So, you know, I grew up in Fresno, California, like central California, very small farm town, not a very large, you know, metal community whatsoever. But, you
Yeah.
know, me and my small group of friends would go to local shows for the few local bands that were around at that time. And one of the bands, which I'll talk about them a little later. I think they're one of like the best black metal bands that never did anything for whatever reason. But they ended their set with Zombie Ritual.
Nice.
And
Oh wow.
and you know, as a 14-year-old kid, that was like one of the coolest things ever. And like, you know, everybody in the room seemed to know who Death was and know the song, but to us that was like a brand new thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, went home, and at the time like LimeWire was like the big way of like
Yeah,
downloading
yeah.
music. So, you know, I came home and destroyed my parents' computer. Downloaded Death record I could. But yeah, that was kind of my my introduction to them. Was, you know, that local band called Azathoth finished their set with Zombie Ritual, and that just kind of set me on my path of like old school death metal stuff, I guess you could say.
Yeah, because the '90s stuff was so different for Death that it's interesting that you started with Scream Bloody Gore. You know, that's cool.
Yeah, and honestly, like I mean, for whatever reason, people don't love this record, but like Sound of Perseverance, I think is like incredible. Like I
Of
got
course.
into that at the same time I got into Scream Bloody Gore.
It's
And
two
like
different bands. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, yeah.
completely different bands, but I
Yeah.
loved both of them equally. I would just argue that it was easier to learn songs on Scream Bloody Gore than
For
it was
sure.
to learn stuff
Yeah.
on Sound of Perseverance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is. It's like two like different bands completely. It's night and day. I remember when Human came out, I was like, wait, like what? Like
From spiritual healing to that. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Like straight into flattening of emotions. It's like,
Dude.
dude,
It's
what?
nuts, dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, for me, I went and saw a movie last night called One of Them Days. Are you guys familiar with this?
No.
It's Keke Palmer and SZA. It's like I don't know. It's like it's not really a rom-com. It's like a dramedy or something. It kind of reminds me of Friday in a way. It's like
Okay.
yeah. It's like inner city. Just like it's just about like SZA and Keke Palmer having like the worst day of their lives. Like they're trying to pay rent and they're trying to like, you know, fix relationship issues, and it just everything goes off the rails. And it's I laughed out loud quite a few times, and the soundtrack was great. Soundtrack was a lot of SZA, obviously, but some Doechii and shit like that, and it was killer. I really enjoyed it.
You went to the theater for that?
Yeah. My kids were like really wanting to see it, and so we ended up going to pretty janky theater in Gresham. We went to this. It's right by Mount Hood College where Ione goes. And,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
it's kind of like an older theater, and it wasn't really kept up. And dude, I got an IPA, and
There's still beers there? What the fuck? That's pretty modern, dude.
yeah, but it was like one of those Lagunitas, like big cans, you know.
Oh, I see.
And number one, it was like $12. They had to card me, which I get, like they have to do that. But then they put a wristband on me, and then they're like, you can only buy one beer every 20 minutes, and you have a limit of 3. And I'm just like, what? Like, what is this? Like,
You're like
is
a
this
child.
yeah, I'm like,
Dude, someone had to have just
Someone
went
really
for it
fucked
at that theater at some point. Just
Yeah.
fucked it up for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, I felt like I was at a festival or something because it was like a wristband, and they carded me, and they had to run my ID through a computer system. And I'm like, I'm not here to get fucking wasted with my kids and watch this movie, you know?
Some people do though, dude.
They do. But it was kind of sketchy. Like we're the only people in the theater. It was just really run down. I don't know. It was.
You had an urban adventure, man. That's cool.
I did, but movie was great. Really enjoyed it. I went into it with kind of low expectations. I mean, I love SZA and I love Keke Palmer, but I didn't know this director at all. I just didn't really know what to expect, and I had a great time. Had Cat Williams in it too, so yeah, it was great.
Cool.
I'm gonna check that out. That actually sounds like something right up my alley.
Yeah, it was really cool. Set in LA somewhere. But yeah, it was great. I really, really, really enjoyed it. So now I think we're all feeling like more uplifted now, not quite as nervous. I don't
Thanks,
think
Jason. I appreciate that.
You guys feel better now?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, definitely.
It's nice you to ask about that.
Okay, so basically, Johnny, this is the part where we start grilling you, making sure that you have the
I have a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah. Why did you say this in 2002? No. Yeah. Yeah, I went through your Instagram. I found this
we interviewed
photo
your high
that's
school
incriminating.
teachers too.
Yeah.
You found my old Facebook posts from high school. God, dude.
Yeah. I see that you used to drum in Inquisition. Like, what's that all about? No, but I wanted to kind of like start from the beginning.
Yes.
I wanted to know how you got into extreme metal and how you got into drumming.
Oh man, how much time you got?
We've got a while.
I mean, yeah, tape's running.
So it's kind of funny. Like, none of my parents, really anybody on either side of my family, were musicians. Nobody really played. My mom's brother dabbled with guitar and stuff like that. He passed when I was really young, but that was probably the only person I ever saw growing up play an instrument. But my dad was obsessed with music. I was born in 93, so that was kind of the tail end of the whole gangster rap explosion.
Yeah.
So I was at a very young age introduced to things like NWA and
awesome.
E40 and the Click and Mac Dre and
oh yeah, great.
So they weren't censoring themselves around you or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
No.
One of the first movies I remember seeing as a kid was Friday, and it's funny enough that Jason brought that up earlier.
Yeah.
But my dad would constantly listen to music, and my mom was more into country and 70s up to the 90s kind of stuff. So I'm really into country and stuff because of my mom, thankfully. But around the time that I remember my dad showing me metal or rock or whatever, Howard Stern had just put out that movie Private Parts, and he got the soundtrack to Private Parts. And I remember he was driving me to preschool. I'll never forget this, but he put on "You Shook Me All Night Long" by AC/DC.
Oh, nice, yeah, classic.
And dude, that just shook my whole fucking world upside down. I was like, dude, what is this? I had never heard distorted guitar, you know what I mean? Any of that stuff. It blew my mind. And I throughout the rest of my childhood, I'd always, be drawn to MTV and always loved. Oh yeah, hell yeah! It was probably that. Is that a cassette?
On cassette. Yeah, of course.
Probably exactly how my dad showed me in his old fucking Toyota. But yeah, man, that was kind of my introduction to rock or metal. I mean, because dude, the Jamie's Crying by Van Halen is on there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All these jams that as I got older, I was like, holy shit, man! I haven't heard this song since I was 5 years old.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But my parents weren't. I don't want to say they weren't super supportive, but they didn't really get it when I kind of approached them hey, I want to be a musician. The first thing I wanted to do was play guitar. And I was probably 5 the first time I asked for a guitar, and my parents bought me a ukulele because I was
kids guitar,
really small. Yeah, they're it's a kid-sized guitar. Here you go. And dude, I brought that thing fucking everywhere with me, man. Didn't know what I was doing. Would openly just strum, but I thought it was the coolest thing in the world that I was the only kid I knew that had an instrument.
Yeah.
But growing up in a very rural farm kind of area, my childhood, most of the time I just I raced motocross. My dad kind of did it for a while as a kid, and I did it competitively, man. It was the only days off I had a week were Mondays from the time I was 6 years old to the time I was 13 years old.
Wow,
that's all I did. And dude, I was like sponsored by fucking Yamaha.
Oh wow, damn.
I had a little deal with the local shop there that was they were like a dealership in Fresno, and like they would hook me up on discounts with gear and whatever else I needed. Like they knew us really well, and that was kind of like my big thing. And I did that a lot, and that also kind of helped me get into metal a little bit too, because my dad would always want to like find like metal CDs to put on for when we would drive to races, like something
trying to amp you up, or yeah.
And my dad wrestled in high school, so like his wrestling coach would always like put on like whatever was popular at the time. So like my dad, he didn't know a lot, but like he bought me the Black album, which in hindsight, not the heaviest thing. I fucking love that record. I don't care what anyone says, but like we would just listen to the Black album, Enter Sandman, all the way up to the time that we got to the race. And that was our tradition for years. So like I said, from the time I was 6 to the time I was 13, anytime I would go race.
You were like competitive. You were good.
It worked. It worked. But like most families, my parents had some issues there in my early teens, and they split, and that was kind of the end of us being able to race and be able to like financially have it make sense, and that was kind of the end of that around the time I turned 13.
Were you devastated when that happened, as far as of course your parents separating, but
yeah, I mean that sucked, but honestly, man, like I was pretty over it at that point. Like it wasn't really something that I was doing for fun anymore. And it's funny because like kids would always ask me, like, why don't you seem excited to do this? Like you're going and riding fucking dirt bikes, dude. Like that's every kid's dream. And I was like, yeah, but most kids aren't like more or less forced to do it, and like it was kind of like a do or die kind of thing, because we had put so much money and time and energy into it that like I was just tired, man. I wanted to play football. I wanted to play hockey. Like I wanted to do anything normal, like outside of that, So around the time that, my parents were splitting and all that was happening, I met a kid that went to my middle school that was always wearing, I saw he had like a Cannibal Corpse Eaten Back to Life long sleeve.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah. I had never seen that before in my life. And like at the time, like the heaviest shit I knew was like I had gotten into like Slipknot and stuff, and like the band Him from Finland, because I like loved Jackass and anything Bam Margera did. And he, like watching those videos, I found out about, like him and some like darker stuff. But
yeah, if that's what exposes kids, I think about that a lot now, how kids are being exposed to extreme music. It comes in strange ways,
It does sometimes. Guitar Hero and shit like that sometimes.
Dude, yeah. And like I had never like, that artwork's fucking cool as hell, man. And as like a 13-year-old kid seeing that, I'm like, what is up with this guy?
That's a fucking great record too. That's great introduction.
Show up to school, and like some days he had like a Children of Bodom long sleeve, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like I gotta talk to this kid. And he had like really long hair, and like my parents weren't super cool about me growing my hair out, so I had like awkward stage long hair. Uh-huh. And I remember going up to him in PE, and I didn't know what to say to him. All I said was like, dude, your hair is really cool. And he more or less just called me a fucking weirdo. Get away from him. So I'm like, shit. All right, man, I gotta find a way to talk to this dude.
Different technique next time.
Over time he warmed up to me a little bit, and I think like it was like his way of being like, oh, like this kid thinks I'm cool. Like I get to be the cool guy, so I'm gonna like talk to this dude.
Was it the imagery that you were like looking at, or was it more
the imagery, man? Like like being a kid, like always watching MTV and just always seeing these dudes with long hair playing music. Like it looked like so much fun, and there was just this mystique about it. It just seemed so fucking cool to me.
Yeah.
And and I saw this dude that was like wearing obscure shit to me, and I was like, what is that? Like I need to know about that. Like that stuff probably sounds crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember leaving, we were leaving PE one day, and they would always hold us before we'd go to lunch for like 15 minutes or so. And he had his Walkman with him, and I'm like, what are you listening to? He's like, here, I'll show you. And he played, it was Hammer Smash Face. He had like a little dark CD.
Nice.
And dude, I'll never forget, it was like a movie. I was like, so when did the clean vocals come in? And he's like, what? And I'm like, oh my God, like what? Like it's just like this all the time? Yeah, because my only reference was like Slipknot and like new metal and shit. And I'm like, so when do they start like singing? And for some reason, him saying they don't just like sent a fucking chill down my spine. And I was like, dude, what? Like I got to hear more of this shit.
Wow.
And yeah, and he like started burning me CDs, and then like that summer, like kids were gonna start high school the next year, so everyone kind of went their own way, and I stayed in contact with him, and that summer I just went over to his house all the time, and like he was one of those kids that had parents that like single parent worked all the fucking time. He had all the freedom in the world to just be at home on the internet,
Yeah.
just discovering music, and like YouTube had just come out around that time, so like everything was just accessible. Anything we wanted to find, we could find, then some.
That's
like
amazing.
I remember his mom would drop us off at the local record store. Was called Rasputin. There's like one up in the Bay Area here, actually two in the Bay Area, but the one in Fresno closed down. But she would drive us there, and we'd just scour through records and CDs and see, album covers that look cool and things that were like, dude, what the fuck is this? And we'd like write them down, and then we'd like go to his house, and then we'd like look all that shit up. And, some of it was really cool, some of it was pretty fucking bad, but
Sure.
I felt like I started working on my musical vocabulary at a really young age. Even like a lot of my peers and people I play music with now, they didn't get into metal and all this stuff until like their late teens, like early 20s, some of them. And that to me is insane, because like more than half my life, man, I have just been like obsessed with like finding newer, heavier bands. And, obviously like my musical palette is a lot larger now than it was as a 13-year-old kid. All I wanted was like the most brutal shit imaginable. And it's funny because of me doing that, like some of the first metal bands I got into were things like Cannibal Corpse, 6 Feet Under, Mortician, Devourment, Cryptopsy, like all this gnarly shit.
Yeah.
And then the next year when school came around, I met a bunch of kids that were just getting into like Anthrax and Megadeth and Pantera, and like I was like, oh, like I've never really listened to those bands. That's like old guy metal, right? Like, all right. And like that's when I got into like Maiden and Metallica, and like I feel like I did everything.
You went pretty extreme pretty quick. Yeah,
I went extreme super quick, but it's like, and it took me being in my mid-20s to like appreciate like Judas Priest and shit like that, because it's like I had spent so long just being into like all this like brutal shit.
Yeah, Jason's story is similar. It's like he went from like glam rock to Carcass. It's like there was no bridge.
I never got into traditional metal. I skipped over Maiden and Priest and all that. I skipped over Metallica and Slayer. I went from like glam metal, so I was like Motley Crue, Cinderella, and then I was more punk. I was Black Flag, Dead Kennedys, Germs, and then I discovered Recaputrefaction by Carcass, and then I was just Carcass, Autopsy, Sepultura, Obituary, and then I was like, why would I go back to like something like Slayer? But then like later on in life, like actually like I just turned 50, and I didn't get into Slayer or Metallica until like the 2000s, maybe. I was like, I took the time to actually like revisit that and be like, oh, like this is really good. Like I actually really love these bands.
You have a better perspective of where it belongs, in the history of things. And
perspective is a perfect way to put it, because it's like, these bands are obviously legendary for a reason. And to me, it was cooler to wear the T-shirt or buy the record of something that all of my friends and everyone else were like, what the fuck is that? Like, don't you kill the balls right there, man? Like, what are you doing? Picking up fucking molesting the decapitated, some shit. and but it took me, I guess, growing up, and I guess just actually going back and being like, oh, like this stuff's really cool. And like I still do that to this day. Like 2 years ago, I finally got into Saxon. It's like, how the fuck have we slept on Saxon for so long? Like Wheels of Steel is like probably one of my favorite records ever now. I'm like, I don't know, like bands like that I've just slept on for so long. Is that like now I'm like,
I think you can look at it as like, I don't know, I hate the term like growing up, but like I think you can look at it as like a maturation thing, or you can look at it like, for me, I feel like a lot of times there's certain art forms like death metal where it took me a good 10 to 15 years of listening to death metal and black metal like every day to really absorb it and really understand what was going on, and understanding the motivations, understanding the compositions, understanding why people make this music. And then it's almost like I needed to understand it more before I could move on to something that influenced it or that came before it. And so like now at this point, I don't. It's rare for me to like put on a death metal record or a black metal record because I feel like I've spent my whole life ingesting this.
Yeah.
So now I'm like I'm listening to a lot of hip hop now because that's something that's not.
Yeah.
Like I've been a hip hop fan for most of my life, but not as much as I have been a death metal fan. And so now I'm like, okay, I finally get death metal. I finally get black metal. Now I'm trying to like shit like Fever Ray, like electronic music, Aphex Twin, Nine Inch Nails, like stuff like that I haven't absorbed to my core.
Yeah.
Like death metal's right here. It's like, it's in the middle of me. It's a part of my being.
Of course.
Where these other things are like trying to get into my heart and I'm trying to let them in, but it's a learning experience.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I just turned 31 last year, but like the last year of my life, specifically these last few months, like I don't listen to a whole lot of metal these days. Like it's not like I hate it or I'm over it. It's just like you said, I've spent so much time like pouring this shit into my brain that like it's kind of nice to take a break.
I remember hearing bands say that, when we were kids, like reading Metal Maniacs or something, and Dave Lombardo would say, like, I don't even listen to metal. And it's like when you're a kid, you're like, what the fuck? How's that even possible?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
How are you putting this shit out, But
I'm really fortunate that like the job I have outside of playing music, I work as a drum tech here in LA. So like in the company that I work for, I get put on things like the Grammys and like the BET Awards. Like we just had like a fire aid benefit thing here for the fires that happened. And like, dude, I drum tech for like Rod Stewart and like, dude, it's really, really cool. I played Corporal Jigsaw Quandary on Rod Stewart's drum kit.
Perfect warm-up song, dude.
Yes.
In a fucking great arena. Like their main dude was like running late, and they're like, Johnny, we need you to do the sound check. I'm like, oh, I got you.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Classic
like,
drum
I've always
intro.
wanted to play in an arena, and I'm like, okay, what's like not blast beat, but still something like fucking cool, So,
yeah.
Like,
No,
I got
perfect.
to do that. But working for all these dudes, like it's really like it's just kind of opened my world up to just different drummers and people that like have never listened to metal in their lives, really.
Yeah.
And it's like cool just seeing how these guys think as musicians and how these guys write, how these guys play. Because like this dude probably doesn't even know who Dave Lombardo is.
Exactly.
Like most of these people that I see, and I don't know, man, it kind of like shook my world upside down. Like once I started working for some of these dudes and like watching like gospel drummers and like Sting played that fire aid benefit, and he didn't have Vinnie Colaiuta, and obviously he didn't have fucking Stuart Copeland, which would have been the coolest thing in the world to me.
Yeah.
But they had their own crew, so I didn't have to work for them. So when Sting was sound checking, I'm like, I'm gonna walk out into the crowd and like watch this. And he played Message in a Bottle and Walking on the Moon.
Wow.
And
Oh man.
it made me feel things that I didn't know I could feel.
Yeah.
Like it just shook me to my fucking core. Like I got like choked up. Like it was crazy. And like the dude that was drumming for him, just like, I don't know, like it was just like a light bulb moment where I was like, why don't I listen to more of this? And like, dude, since then, like Stuart Copeland has become like my fucking god. Dude.
Stuart Copeland. Yeah. Speaking of those experiences, like I've attended a couple of Grammys, and like that's like so much music that I'm not really exposed to, not necessarily my wheelhouse. But like, man, I'm with you. It's such an emotional experience. Like not this last year's Grammys, but the Grammys before, I was down there, and like Tracy Chapman came out as a surprise and started playing Fast Car. And I was sobbing, I'm just like, what? It's like such a surprise.
Cool.
And everybody's like, what? Like Tracy Chapman's here? Like that's insane. And the first year I went, they did that 50th anniversary of hip hop. And it was Wu-Tang, it was Public Enemy, like all these bands coming out and playing for like 30 seconds. And then the next band would, and like nobody knew who was going to be there. Yeah. Like my wife and I were just like, what the fuck is happening? Like Public Enemy came out, and and Run DMC, I was losing my mind. Mary J. Blige, like all these people. It was this.
Well, we have to remember, at the core, we're music fans, right? So we're going to be absorbing all kinds of music. We happen to be in the extreme world or whatever at the origins of our hearts, but we are music fans, and we're going to absorb all kinds of shit.
And a lot of my coworkers, like when I'm not teching gigs, I go and I work at the warehouse, just like tuning drums, getting shit ready for the next gigs, whatever. And a lot of my coworkers are like pop fans. They're like, I was like, dude, these are like grown ass men listening to pop. Like what? What the fuck are you doing? But now, like after hanging out with them a bunch, like after the last Grammys, I'm like, Sabrina Carpenter won a bunch of stuff. Like, for
Yeah.
her, like, I shouldn't know who these fucking people are.
Yeah.
Like,
That's good.
I'm like, I know who that is. Like, it's just the craziest thing.
Is it
But,
working the
like,
other way too? Are you exposing them to metal at all, or?
they don't give a shit, man. Damn it. I've like some of those dudes are like, they're like into jazz and like crazier shit, and like I've tried showing them some stuff. Like I don't know if you guys know who like Defeated Sanity is, but like the drummer Lily Gruber for Defeated Sanity is like my favorite modern death metal drummer. And I've like showed those guys some of his videos, and they're like, "That's cool," and that's about it. They don't fucking care.
Yeah.
But like you said, Nick, like at the end of the day, we're musicians, and like we are music lovers, and that is like so true. And honestly, I think I've had to lean more into that lately, instead of just being like, oh, I'm a metal dude or I'm a punk dude. It's like, nah, I'm just a music lover, and I think I've kind of like, I don't want to say I've reached my limit of metal, but it's like I've got a lifetime's worth of metal music in my fucking catalog that I could never listen to it. I could never find another record again and be fine for the rest of my life. So I'm moving on to different shit, and it's like, obviously, I've been listening to death all week and stuff like that, but like, I don't know. It's a really exciting, cool feeling to just be excited by new kinds of music. And it like, stuff that kind of gives me that same feeling that metal did when I first started listening.
It's out there, yeah.
Same feeling.
But yeah,
totally. And that's what I've been trying to do. And it's interesting because I feel like people are then like, oh, well, you're not going to play metal anymore. It's like, well, it doesn't mean that. It means I'm going to use these new things to influence the way that I perform metal.
Very good.
Dude, and since I've been like learning more like jazz chops and things like that, going back and playing metal stuff, it's like I'm doing shit that I never thought I would do. And like, it's really funny how like not focusing on playing metal has somehow made me better at playing metal.
Dude,
like,
do you consciously like watch, take lessons or watch videos, or like what's the technique for learning?
I've never taken a lesson in my life. Like I'm completely self-taught.
Amazing.
But lately I have been actually learning like some rudiments, and like a couple of the dudes I work with, they're like marching dudes that are like super militant, and they're like, oh my god, your paradiddles are fucking trash. Stuff shit to me all the time.
I wanted to bring that up actually, because I was like, Johnny, you're fucking paradiddles. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Now, like, dude, I'm ridiculous about it. I bring a pair of sticks everywhere I go, and I'm constantly just working on rudiments and just learning new stuff. But it's cool because of me doing that, like back to how I mentioned earlier, how I've been listening to like Human and stuff, like learning some of those rudiments and learning some of those chops, like it's kind of unlocking my brain to like understand some of that shit a little more.
Do you feel like you get to learn the personality, right, of the drummer when you know what their influences are? You can tell, oh, this guy's listening to a lot of jazz. Jesus.
It sounds super, super corny, but like I consider myself like a method actor when it comes to playing music. Like if I'm going to play death metal, I'm going to listen to all the Alex Marquez stuff and all the, all the like Florida shit that I really like. And like, I'm going to get into that headspace and I'm going to be that guy. If I have a Blackbraid tour coming up and I got to learn some black metal stuff, I'm going to listen to only black metal and I'm going to be that black.
I mean, we recognized that when we saw you with Go Ahead and Die. You were harnessing Igor a lot of times too. It was
exactly.
You are morphing yourself into like the style of whatever you're playing. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And I think I credit a lot of that, like obviously because I love what I do, but a big part of it is because I've listened to so much music and so many different kinds of music that I kind of know how to emulate it. Like I kind of know what's like expected of me as a drummer in that subgenre.
Yeah. That's really important, and you're playing in so many different bands that you're having to kind of, use your mind in different ways for all these different projects. It must be
exactly, and like it's a really fucking cool thing. I mean, there's times where it's like a little frustrating because I feel like it's almost made me like, I don't want to say struggle with an identity, but it's like, damn, like I do so many different things that it's like, what is my thing?
Yeah,
exactly. Like who the fuck am I, man? I'm like,
well,
but
sorry, I was just going to say it's confusing for me because I'm like, okay, so like, are you in this band? Are you just
how
like
many
a live
of these projects
guy? Are you like a session?
Yeah.
Like,
so I mean, really, the only bands that I actively record with are Go Ahead and Die. I obviously the Blistering Rot stuff. Like, I helped write that demo, but they recorded all that when I was on the Go Ahead and Die tour. And they didn't want to wait for me, so they're like, "We're just going to do program drums. This is a demo.
No way! Damn it!"
to me, like as a drummer, if I see something as programmed drums, I'm probably not gonna listen to it. Like it's that. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are bands that I will listen to that do it, but more often than not, like if it's like someone's first release, I'm probably not gonna listen
It's
to
hard for me to
it.
tell sometimes, even that it is like the technology's gotten so good. But
Like fucking Blackbraid, the band I play live for, like that's all programmed drums. Like
wow,
that's all programmed drumming,
wow.
and like people are shocked by it. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I could hear that when I heard the first 10 seconds.
You knew,
Yeah. Well,
You knew.
because you're an expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just tell. But yeah,
So
man, the
what
only
like
bands.
what would a project be that you are like part of? Like, are you thinking about what that is for yourself in the future, or like what?
So, Blistering Rot has honestly been probably my passion project. I've always been like a death metal dude. Like old school death metal is my heart and soul.
Yeah, me too.
And the dudes that I'm doing Blistering Rot with, it's funny. We actually the two of the dudes we used to play in a band called Skeletal Remains together.
Yeah,
That was
that's
like
right.
probably.
I just learned that you were in that band. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Didn't know that
I
either.
recorded their third record, Devouring Mortality, with
Dude,
them.
shit's good,
when I
man.
was
Jeez.
thanks, man, I appreciate that. Dude, yeah, I poured my heart and soul into that record. I was living in Fresno at the time. To write that for 6 months, I drove to and from LA
Wow.
every weekend for 6 months, and that's like 6 hours round trip. I would like live at our studio, and like I was like 23 at the time. Like I didn't give a shit, man. I'd just sleep on the couch, fucking shower every few days with like friends or whatever, and just like I just wanted to play death metal.
Yeah.
And I'm super proud of that record. Unfortunately, there's a lot of just inner workings with the band that just didn't really work out for a lot of the people involved, unfortunately. And that record is the only thing that I got to do with them, which I'm super proud of it. Didn't talk to those dudes for a long time. Everyone kind of went off and did their own thing. And a couple years ago, the guitar player in Skeletal at the time, who also left, reached out to me and was like, "Hey man, like I want to start another band. Like you were my favorite drummer we ever had. Like I've got some riffs. I'm gonna work some shit out. Like I'd love for you to be on board." And funny enough, he's who got me hired at the job that I'm at now, where I'm like drum teching and stuff. He was working in the warehouse, and he got me the job there. So on all of our downtime, I'd just help him work through riffs and just help him. Like, oh, dude, it'd be cool if you did a blast beat here. Like, why don't you have this kind of beat here? Just like kind of pick stuff apart and just kind of give him ideas. And yeah, it turned into like a real band, which I didn't really expect it to. It was kind of like, oh, I'm gonna help this guy write some shit. Like, it'll be a cool demo. And the demo came out and people really liked it. And they were like, I think maybe we should like try making this a real band. Like maybe we should try doing some shows and see what happens. And I got my buddy Kyle to start, playing second guitar for it to fill out the sound. And dude, it's been awesome. I miss playing with those guys so much, and I missed playing like that style of death metal, because not only is that like my favorite shit, like all like the Florida stuff and the really groovy stuff, but like it's also like kind of challenging to play, and it's like fun for me. It's like it's frustrating, but it's really fun to just like I don't know, just push myself as far as I can go and do more interesting stuff. Like don't get me wrong, I love playing black metal, but like death metal is just there's just more to it. There's more twists and turns.
And you're saying frustrating because that is so complicated sometimes?
Yeah,
or?
because it's complicated, and like I guess I hold myself to like a pretty high standard when it comes to me writing stuff. And now that I'm mostly a live drummer, when I do record stuff, I'm like extra in my head about it, because I'm like, this better be fucking good, man. Like,
yeah.
Very often. So yeah, I've been working on that. I just recently recorded an album with there's this grindcore or mincecore band called Valles from out here in California, and my old grindcore band Fiend toured with them a whole bunch back in the day. I don't know if you guys have listened to my old grind band, but that was like my first like band that I toured with or did anything with. I drummed and did vocals, and actually it was just like super like
you did like Dino in fucking Dystopia.
Yeah.
Our big thing was there's this old grind band from Australia called Warsaw, which is like really crusty, grimy, nasty shit. Like made Napalm Death seem like a pop band. Like they were fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And that was kind of our whole thing. And so the first tours I ever did in that band were alongside Haggis, and they recently got rid of their drummer just because of some drama or whatever, and they just signed to Tank Crimes, which like I've kind of followed for a really long time. Anything Scotty does, I've always been a big supporter of, and yeah, they just signed with them. They needed a dude to play drums with them. I've known them for a long time, so I actually just tracked a full length with them at Earhammer with Greg Wilkinson.
Oh man, that's awesome.
A
What's
dream come
the
true for
band
me,
called?
man.
It's not Fiend.
Called
It's
no, the band I just joined is called Haggis.
Haggis.
Hagggus.
Nice.
They're
Not like the
they spelled it with a
Scottish.
U because it's like that because they're vegan, and I guess it's like the nastiest meat thing they could think of.
Totally.
But
It pretty much
but
is. Yeah.
they spell it with a U because apparently there's like a super racist hardcore band that spells it with an I, like
Oh,
the traditional
shit.
spelling. Yeah,
That's
so
okay.
they're like, yeah, we're gonna do it with a U.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
that's awesome.
yeah, it's super like all pitch shifted vocals and like super like rompy. It's basically like metal polka, but like it's so fun and like I have a
Wow.
blast. I've known those dudes for fucking years and yeah, so like we're playing MDF this year.
Oh,
There's
sweet.
like a
Damn.
few other there's a few other one-offs that I'm gonna do with them this year and yeah, so I've been recording some stuff for them lately and it's been cool because I haven't really gotten to record for like a few years now, you know, so it's been kind of cool getting back into like a recording setting and
Did those guys
yeah,
you
man.
start with in Fiend? Did they continue another project or?
So it's funny the dude I was talking about earlier that like kind of showed me metal and shit like that was like my buddy Adam and yeah like that was like a band that we had started together.
Oh,
was
amazing!
Fiend.
So you continued this
Um,
friendship. That's so cool.
Dude, yeah, so like to this very day like that's still my boy, man. You know,
That's
he recently
awesome.
moved to Alaska and like got married and stuff and just you know he's just touring and playing music wasn't going to be his thing forever.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, man. So kind of like back to what I was saying earlier, like, you know, that summer of him getting me into metal and stuff, like, you know, we started some bands that never fucking went anywhere. Like our first band together was Hacksaw Mutilation. Never recorded shit. We had like two
Amazing.
songs and, you know, friends like, I don't like metal anymore. I don't want to play with you guys anymore.
Yeah.
And, you know, we recycled so many bands up until like
Were
our
you
late
playing
teens.
drums at that time, or was it guitar? Or?
So I had a neighbor that had a drum kit, and I would like go over there sometimes, and he'd show me just simple little 4/4 beats, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever, and so I didn't really know what I was doing, but I could play a 4/4 beat. You know, what more do you fucking need?
Yeah.
And when Adam and a couple other buddies were like, well, we should start a band. I was like, well, I'll play drums. I can play drums.
Nice.
I can totally do this. Fucking not at all. But and you know, Adam like he came. His mom was like kind of well off, so his mom like bought a drum kit just so he could like have a band and
Wow.
jam at
Wow.
the house. So like the mom bought a drum kit. I'd go over there and play all the time, and like, dude, I couldn't play for shit, man. Like, I wish I still had recordings of some of those songs because it was really bad. The one song we could get through was a cover. We covered "Zombie Apocalypse" by Mortician.
Nice.
And
Okay.
yeah, that was you know it's simple, very very simple
Because he
beat.
was using programming, right? Back then.
Yeah. But I was like,
The
I
early
can play
days.
this. It's so
Yeah.
easy. But yeah, so like you know those bands fell apart. Then we started a thrash band called Atomic Violence, which fucking went nowhere.
So good.
That turned into like
Perfect
around
name.
that time we got really into like all like the Gothenburg shit, like Dark Tranquility and
Yeah.
At the Gates and Edge of Sanity and stuff. So then we're
Mhm.
like we started a band called Desecrator with like the same members, just kicked out our singer, brought a new guy in that had more of that register,
Yeah.
and then that didn't really go anywhere. But like it's funny because when we had all these bands going, there was really nowhere for us to play in town. Like there was no like no real like DIY venues or anything. So we would play the local bar scene.
Wow.
And the way we kind of got to do that was like through MySpace and like adding bands that we saw were like in, you know, local Fresno bands or whatever.
Right,
And
yeah.
you know, we'd put our demos up and there was one place in a little town called Sanger. It's like 45 minutes outside of Fresno, and they had a place called The Venue, which like they had this gnarly light system, like crazy sound system, but
Wow,
like
professional.
nobody showed up at those gigs. Like you'd go and play to like the sound guy, like nobody would
Wow.
show up.
Wow.
But we got a gig there, and this was with Atomic Violence. We got a gig there, and there was these older dudes that had this like heavy metal band called Elite Castle Army, and they were more like they didn't have a singer, but they would just kind of play like Iron Maiden, like new wave of British heavy metal sounding riffs, and like they were cool. And they fucking loved us. They were like, "What's up with these kids? Like they're fucking like, like I've always like headbanged when I played, and it's like, you see a fucking 15-year-old kid doing that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. That's awesome.
Like, so they kind of took us under their wing, and they started like booking us on all the shows, local bars that they would
Wow.
play. And those were like some of the first gigs I played. And it's funny because when we started playing the bar scene, we weren't allowed inside.
Yeah, exactly.
We
You're
were-
young.
We're kids. So like my parents would drop us off like 5 p.m. or something before people even start getting there, and I would sit in the parking lot with my kit set up from like 5 p.m. until like 9 or 10 when we finally went on. And I would just sit in the parking lot and just like, I'd bring Gatorades and like whatever else with me, and just like hang out and until we could play. And then when it was time to play, they'd rush us inside, get us up on stage as quick as they could, no sound check, anything, fucking play, get the fuck out.
Get
like,
out,
because,
yeah.
Holy shit, that's
if
crazy.
anyone showed up and they're like, why are there these fucking teenagers in your bar?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
so, but people let us do it, and sometimes they'd let us sneak in and like watch the other bands, but more often than not, we just kind of had to like stay outside.
Did you
And I
develop
did
a
that
following when you're doing that, or were there like people coming up?
we were kind of known as like that sick ass kid band. Like, dude, we were honestly better than a lot of the adults in that town. Like some of those guys, all those dudes knew was like like small town shit, and it's like, here we are with our fucking Demolition Hammer t-shirts.
Nice.
Cool, dude.
Demolition
Sick
Hammer.
ass kids, dude.
Hey,
It's so funny because like I look back on it, like not even just because it's me I'm talking about, but I'm like, we were some cool fucking kids.
Yeah, you were.
We were definitely some cool kids. But but that was the time that we're like, we're gonna be like a big metal band, like we want to sign to fucking Metal Blade and like all this shit. But around that time, we had gotten booked at a DIY venue that had just opened up in town called the Belltown. And when we played there for the first time, like, dude, there was like maybe like 100 kids crammed into this little room because it was like a punk show. We were the only metal band on it.
Wow.
And like these kids were fucking killing each other. Like I had never had a pit before, which to me was like the coolest thing in the world. Like I can't wait to go home and tell my parents. Like, there was a pit.
Yeah.
And we were like, dude, we should be playing more gigs like this. Like, why are we playing metal shows? Like, we should go play the punk gigs where we stand out and people are like amazed at our talent.
And they're energetic and they really want to get involved.
And they were super into it. And it was kind of one of those punk houses that like, people lived there, but they had a venue that kind of paid their rent or whatever. And we became really good friends with all the people that lived there. And we more so just kind of stopped fucking with the bar scene and just started focusing on like just playing DIY shows and more like smaller punk crowds because we had more fun that way and people were more into it. More people bought merch. More people understood what we were doing. So it kind of shifted our focus from like, oh, like we want to be this big band, playing huge sold out venues to like, nah, fuck that shit, man. Like we want it to be ratty. We don't even need to play on a stage, dude. We're just going to keep it, down and dirty.
Yeah. DIY.
And, some of those dudes kind of fizzled out in that band and like that band imploded that we were doing at that time. And I started jamming with a couple of the dudes that lived there on a band called Scum, which was kind of like atmospheric black metal mixed with like crust punk, like D-beat sections.
Wow.
Okay.
And we were actually we were huge Agalloch fans at that time. That was like something that I kind of wanted to implement. Was like, you guys had just put out Marrow of the Spirit around that time, and I was like, it needs to be like this. But then instead of going into like softer, pretty parts, we'll go into like crust punk parts. And like I did that for a while, man. We would fucking clear rooms because we would play like a 10-minute ambient track of like cymbal washes and like and then we'd go into the song, and like people would just fucking leave, dude. But like we didn't care, man. Like we'd all sometimes we just like set up backwards, like not even face anyone, or like make them turn all the lights off in the room and like just crazy shit like that. And like that's where I really started like getting more into the like making people uncomfortable and like doing the opposite of what I'd been trying my whole life. And it kind of worked. It was funny. Like, my whole life I had spent like, I want to be big. I want to do all this shit. And as soon as I like did the opposite and was like, nah, I kind of want to make people uncomfortable. Like I kind of want to like clear rooms. And that's when it like people started showing up and like actually giving a shit.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then the dude that I did that Scum band with, it was like me, him and his girlfriend that did everything. And then the couple, they moved up to Olympia, and that was kind of that. And around that time, I had moved into that punk house and was just living there and like not really doing much else. Just
Was it after high school then? You were done, or
high school? Yeah, around this time, I was probably about 18.
nice?
Moved out from home and was just like living at this punk house and just doing like teenage crust punk shit, and just drinking 40 ounces and not doing a whole lot else with my life, just kind of the party years. But around that time, my buddy Adam, who I grew up with, was like, we were all kind of getting into grindcore more. Like we got more into like Excruciating Terror from down here in LA.
Oh yeah, Excruciating Terror. I remember them guys.
World Downfall Era Terrorizer.
So fucking good.
Agathocles from where are they from? Not Denmark.
They're from. Are they from Czech?
They're Belgian.
They're Belgian. That's right.
Belgian.
They just split 7 inches with everybody.
Dude, yeah. Like Dahmer and like all this like obscure grindcore shit that I had never heard before, and we were like, damn, dude, like we should do something like this. And we started writing some stuff. This is probably about summer of 2012. Honestly, it was a pretty fucked up summer. Like we were all kind of going through some personal stuff at that time, and summers in Fresno can get pretty brutal. Like on average, they're about 115 every day. Ooh. And the place we were living had no AC, brick building, so it was just hot. It was just sweltering.
Your house probably smelled like piss, beer, sweat. Like, what did that fucking house smell like?
Dude, smoking cigarettes inside, and dude, it was fucking. I can smell that building to this day.
I bet. Jesus Christ.
Dude, yeah, I go into any dilapidated building, and I'm like, I'm home.
It takes you back.
Yeah,
it takes me back. But yeah, man, we wrote some pretty gnarly shit in those days, and where we were living was kind of like, I'm sure you guys have seen Fight Club, like the house they live in Fight Club, how it's just out in the middle of fucking nowhere, like industrial area. You can kind of get away with whatever you want. Like that's pretty much what we lived in, except it was like a punk house. Like you go outside at night and there's nobody for miles. Like there's no active businesses. Just like drug addicts and like homeless encampments and shit. And we were jamming one day when we were first starting the band, and we had walked to the store to like get some beer, and we were like spitballing like, oh, what are we gonna name the band? And we like saw someone just like shooting up heroin on the sidewalk, just like sitting outside of this like Chevron, just shooting up. And I was like, damn, what about Fiend? And like it just kind of stuck. Like it was just kind of like a product of our environment kind of thing, more or less. And
totally.
We linked up with. I have a buddy named Jimmy who runs a label called Transylvanian Recordings in Oakland, and he actually grew up in Fresno and like moved up to Oakland, started a label, and he kind of kept in contact over the years. And he's like, dude, I want to put out this demo for you. Like this is crazy shit.
Wow.
And then he put that out for us, and then like, dude, it just blew the fuck up in like the underground like grindcore world. Like people were just like hitting us up on fucking Facebook, and like Instagram wasn't really that popular at the time. It was mostly like Facebook, and like people were sharing our Bandcamp link everywhere. Someone uploaded it to YouTube, which had never happened to me before. I was like, some dude just uploaded our shit.
Yeah,
what the
that's cool,
man.
That's cool.
And man, then like we started gigging more. Our singer kind of got like I call it like the Bobby Liebling syndrome. Like he just wanted to do drugs and drink and not practice. Like, we all lived together, and we would rehearse like every single day and write every day. And he would just like hang out in his bedroom and like never come and rehearse.
Yeah.
But he wanted all the glory of like playing the shows and like getting fucked up after, and like people, kind of stroking your ego more or less when you get off stage. And like he liked all that shit, but he didn't like any of the work.
Yeah.
And when it came to record our follow-up to the demo, he was tracking his vocals, and he like never did the same thing twice. Like kind of like he was kind of blowing it.
Oh wow.
And we kind of told him like, hey man, like let's try this again tomorrow. Like maybe you should like try this not drunk. And it turned into a whole blow up, and we kind of fired him on the spot. And we needed to get that demo out, or the EP out, because we had a label that was waiting to put it out on tape. So I was like, well, fuck it, man. I've always wanted to do vocals.
Oh
My
man.
guitar player I was like, you probably have a lower register than I do. Like, let's just fucking try this tomorrow. We'll come back. And so at work that whole next day, I just had a notepad and I just wrote ooh ooh just like where I thought like vocals should go. And like we went in that following night, tracked all the vocals, and dude, it was fucking sick, honestly. And like it made us kind of blow up even more. And like that was the first band that like I ever toured with, the first band that I ever got to go and like play LA or the Bay or like travel or like, dude, I did like a 2-week tour for my first tour with that band, and that was
Wow.
like it's a life affirming thing because I'm like, okay, I'm not wrong. Like this is really what I want to do.
Was
Yeah.
that put out in that Transylvania as well, or was that some?
So the demo was put out on Transylvanian tapes, and then it's Transylvanian recordings now. At the time, it was Transylvanian tapes. Then the follow up, dude, that thing got re-released by like 10 different people. I'm pretty sure there's still people putting it out that we don't know about.
Wow.
The first label that put it out was called Noise Not War. They're from I believe Poland. And then this other label called Cannabis Cult put it out, and then it just kind of started. A bunch of people have fucking put it out since. But that EP was called Derailed, just Fiend Derailed. It's on YouTube. It's like
I'll check that out.
probably one of the craziest things I've ever recorded, and it's just me going absolutely ape shit, just like letting loose to every bit of anger I had in the world, and like
Nice.
Did that feel more cathartic of being a vocalist as far as letting out the anger than drumming did, or was it like
fucked up because I loved being a vocalist. Like the whole time that we were a band, I honestly wish I could have stopped playing drums to just do vocals because I love doing
It's so
vocals.
fun doing that. I did that in high school.
So fun.
Just like
Dude, on this
oh, yeah.
on this Haggis record we just did, I did vocals all over the shit because like I can do like kind of like crust vocals, I can do high vocals, like lower grindcore vocals.
wow.
And I was like, dude, do I have to play drums? Like, can I just do this shit?
Johnny, I have a photo I want to show you.
Oh yeah.
And I want you to talk about this. Okay. Already?
Yes.
Here we go.
Oh, I fucking knew it.
Yeah, how old were you here, bro? Jesus.
So I was 16 years old.
Wow.
So it's funny. So at Agalock had just put out Marrow of the Spirit, and I had never seen them before that, and they were my favorite fucking band. Like I was absolutely obsessed with Agalock. And my buddy Adam, who I grew up with, you know, he was a big Agalock fan too, and our buddy Justin, who lived in town, that was also a big fan. We like borrowed my buddy's mom's car to drive up to Oakland for the day. It was like a 3.5-hour drive, and we bought more weed than was probably legal at that time. And dude, we were just like hotboxing my buddy's mom's car the whole way up to San Francisco, and like we went like record shopping and shit that day, and we got there early because I was like, dude, I gotta meet these guys. We gotta meet them. And yeah, as soon as we fucking pulled up, you guys were pulling up in your van, like right in front. I don't know if like
that's funny.
Yeah, you guys had just pulled up, and I remember seeing the Oregon plates on the van, and I was like, dude, is this are they here right now? And you guys stepped out, and like I was so fucking starstruck, man. Like I didn't even know what to say to you guys, but I approached you guys and was like, hey man, like I'm a huge fan. Like me and my buddies like drove up here for the day. Like, can I like please get a photo with you guys? And you guys were cool as hell about it. You guys were like, yeah, of course. And you took a photo with me, and I think my other buddies were like too afraid to do it, or like weren't really into like taking photos with people. But I was like, I had to fucking jump on that. And you could tell Aesop was a little uncomfortable because you could see his arm as he's leaving the frame.
Yeah, he's like,
oh, that's him?
Here.
Oh, yeah.
Aesop's arm as he's like leaving the frame. He's like, this kid's fucking weird.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, so that was Great American Music Hall, right?
That was Great American Music Hall, man.
Okay.
And once you guys left, we like waited in front of the building for like the remainder of the day until doors. And dude, I didn't even buy merch when doors open. I just sprinted straight to the barricade and waited in the front all fucking night. And dude, that was like my first time getting to see like the Spirit, and like seeing John Gossard in the flesh was like the craziest thing to me. Because like Deadest Dreams, man, like even as a kid, I was like, dude, this is like legendary shit.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm like seeing this guy playing guitar and fucking doing vocals right now. And then yeah, man. Then it was time for you guys to play, and it's so funny. I always told this story, but like John had left his guitar leaning on like the monitor in front of where he stands. And I'm
Okay.
like, dude, that's John Hamm's guitar. I'm like pointing out to my buddy, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna poke it. I'm gonna poke his guitar. And I reached out to poke his guitar, and I looked to side stage, and John is like watching me poke his guitar. It's like, dude, this look of like, what is this fucking kid doing to my guitar?
Oh, that's hilarious. I love that
amazing.
story.
And you guys came out, and like that was to this day the greatest concert I've ever been to, man. Like I knew every word to every song you guys played, and like Dawn was standing like right in front of me, and there was like multiple times me and him kind of locked in, like singing along, and it's funny because he crouched down to me before you guys did an encore, and he was like, "Well, what song do you want to hear?" And like I had always wanted to see you guys play as Embers Dress the Sky. Like even the couple times I
Okay.
saw you
Yeah.
after that, you guys never played it.
Yeah.
And I was so fucking nervous when he asked me that I couldn't think of the name of the song. He was like, "What do you want to hear?" I was like, and then he just like walked. I think you guys played like Dead Winter Days or something like that. But I was like, oh, so
You had a chance. Shit.
I had a chance. I fucking blew it. I like could not think of the name of the song for the life of me, even though I had talked about it probably the whole fucking drive up there.
That's so funny. Who
But
else?
yeah, man, I'll never forget you guys just like lighting the sage, and just
Yeah.
everything about that was everything I could have asked for about my first experience seeing Agalock, man. And that was like, dude, life changing. To this day, I still tell people that is the best concert I've ever been to in my life.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, man. It's
man.
funny when you make a friend and they're like, "Oh yeah, like actually we met, fucking over a decade ago."
Dude,
But
yeah.
like
That's
Yeah.
what happened to you guys. Yeah.
yeah, well,
that's insane, man.
it's funny because I want to say maybe 2 years ago or so, like I had been just kind of like accidentally following your career, just through Facebook, because we were friends on Facebook, and you would post this and you'd post that, and you'd be like, "Oh, I'm doing this, and I've got this band, and I'm doing this show," and you just came up on my feed. Didn't know you at all. And then I saw you were, I think I first saw you were teching for Igor Cavalera.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, now you're playing with Max in Go Ahead and Die? I'm like, and I was like, and that's right when I discovered Blackbraid too. And I'm like, wait, he's playing for Blackbraid too? And I'm like, this kid is on fire. And so I messaged you on Facebook. I just wanted to be like, hey dude, like I've been following you for a bit, and like I'm just so stoked that you're doing this and you're killing it and you're an amazing drummer. I was just trying to like encourage you from afar. I had no idea that you were an Agalock fan, obviously.
Dude,
That's crazy.
I'll never forget the day that you sent me a friend request on Facebook, and I was like, "Is this real? Like, what the fuck? Like, why is he adding me?" And I was like, of course. And like, I almost messaged you right away, and I was gonna be like, dude, like, fucking huge Agalock fan, like, I love you guys, but I was like, I don't want him to like unfriend me immediately. Leave me alone, man. But yeah, and then you messaged me that day, and I was like, holy shit, man! Like, I think I'm becoming friends with like
It's pretty amazing.
someone from like one of my favorite fucking bands. Like, yeah, man. So like,
I mean,
I
you've been on the road a lot. You probably have done it a few times, like with other people as well. Jason, of course, is number one, but
Of course, number one, yeah.
there must be some amazing
That's-
encounters you've had,
that's
dude.
absolutely one of the most important ones. But yeah, man, I've gotten to make friends with a few people. Like the first tour I did when I joined Skeletal Remains was with Sphinx, and like,
Oh man,
I got to make buddies with Martin Van Drunen,
Oh, man.
and like their drummer Husky, and like, those
Yeah.
dudes are fucking amazing, man. But
Martin's the best. Yeah,
Martin's-
Dude, Martin's the best, and I was still drinking in those days and like really going for it. So me and him drank several beers and had
Oh yeah.
one of my favorite stories with him is it was the first night of tour, and me and him were all about the van beers and like sneaking beers in the back of the van, and it usually makes you piss quite a bit, and so we like begged the driver to pull us over on the side of the highway. We're like between San Diego and LA, and we're just standing on the side of the road pissing side by side while cars are like honking at us.
Yeah.
Just like, drunk as fuck on the side of the road. And, like, yeah, that's like one of my prized Martin Van Drunen moments. He threw up on my shoes on that tour too, which some people would be upset about, but I was like, damn, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, Martin's so cool. Like Agalok played with Hail of Bullets once, and we played with Asphyx a couple different festivals, and we just got to know Martin, and then it got to the point where like Asphyx would come through town, and like we go to the show, and he'd be like, "Oh, hey, Jason," and I'm like, "What?" Like Martin Van Drunen knows my name, and they started like thanking us in the later Asphyx records. They thank Agalok, and I was just like, "What the fuck?" And there's this beautiful video of them playing at MDF, and like. It was the same year that we played, but we played like on a Saturday and they played like on a Sunday or something. And we were on our way out. We were about to fly out and they had just gotten there and we had all this beer. But it was like high ABV IPAs. I think it was the 21st Amendment beer.
Fuck. I remember
like,
those.
Yeah, it was like 6.8, maybe 7, something like that. Awesome IPA.
I think those are like 7.2 or something like that.
They might be like 7.2, yeah. But like they're not used to that type of shit, you know? And so we're like, be careful, this is really strong. And they're all like, no, we're gonna drink these before we play. We get on the plane. Yeah. We get on the plane. The next day there's a YouTube video. You can find it. And they dedicate the set to Agalok for getting them wasted before the show. And yeah, it's like it's one of those moments where you're just like, I'm living the dream, man. Like this is just amazing.
Yeah, well,
like,
speaking
dude, like how many times I listened to Consuming Impulse in my bedroom as a teenager. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell us more about the Max and Igor stuff and how that all came about?
Yeah. So around the time I left Skeletal Remains, I fucking more about my childhood shit. So the band, there's a couple things here. So I had left Skeletal Remains. While I was doing Skeletal Remains, me and the dude Adam that did Fiend together, we had started a death metal band called Sepulcher, which was just more like Carnage, Unleashed, Entombed, very Swedish, like HM2 kind of band. But we wanted it to be more like crusty and like DB. And we had played a Fresno show with Exhumed. And the Exhumed dudes ended up staying at our house that night. And me and their guitar player, Sebastian, just kind of spent all night, just drinking, talking about music, just being nerds. And I told him, I just left SR and, was just kind of looking for something else and didn't really think much about it. About a week later, I got a random message on Instagram from Travis Stone, who he now plays in Cavalera Conspiracy and Pig Destroyer and stuff now. But he messaged me on Instagram and was like, "Hey, man, I am starting a new band with Igor Cavalera, and my buddy Sebastian said that you were looking for a new band. I really like the Skeletal Remains record. I'd like to talk." And the first thing I thought was isn't Igor a drummer? What the fuck? What? What are they trying to do? Yeah, and then turns out he was talking about Max's son.
Right.
And they used to do a band together called Lodi Kong, which was Igor, little Igor, Max's son. It was Igor, his brother Zion, and Travis. And they had split up. They had a falling out, and they wanted to start a new band, and they wanted it to be a little more stonery, kind of Kylesa-esque. And I like a lot of that shit. So I'm like, dude, I'm down, man. And they flew me out to Arizona, and they picked me up from the airport, and we went straight to Max's house. Wow. Max was on tour at the time, but I'm like, I'm going to Max Cavalera's house.
Yeah.
Fuck. And I go into his living room, and as soon as you walk into their house, right to the right of you, there's this wall of all these masks and shit that he's collected over the years. It's kind of fucking scary. Honestly. I was I have to sleep in the living room next to all this shit?
Brazilian, stuff like that.
Brazilian, just all kinds of shit he's collected over the years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that band Healing Magic with them. We recorded a demo. So after we recorded that demo, we got asked to go out with Cavalera doing, it was a Rise and Beneath the Remains, and they were doing it in Europe. So we were going to open that whole tour. It was a 2-month long tour.
Had you been to Europe by this point, as far as touring goes?
So I went to Europe for about 2 weeks with Skeletal Remains, the year before that. But it didn't do any extensive touring or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, going out there for 2 months, I was like, damn, I'm going to see some places that I never thought I'd ever see.
Yeah.
And so did that tour, came back. We did an American leg of that tour in 2022, and that's where I was teching for Igor and stuff. So I pulled double duty. I was opening and then would immediately break my shit down, load it out, then go straight to working for Igor every night. But
crazy.
I learned a lot, dude. Igor is my fucking boy now. I just went and saw them a couple weeks ago and hung out for a bit. But
I went and
so
saw that show too, the Cavalera show.
yeah, dude, I saw that you went to that. Dude, they're fucking on fire right now, man. It's insane.
So good.
Tight.
Jesus.
So good. But yeah, I'm kind of skipping over some shit here, but like after that tour in Europe, COVID hit, and obviously if we couldn't tour, couldn't do anything. So Max and his son Igor started working on the first Go Ahead and Die record. And Max was really into that band Black Curse that had just they had just put out.
I like them.
Yeah, so he was like obsessed with that record, and they ended up getting Zach Coleman from Blackhurst to play drums on that first record. Which, dude, he's a fucking ripper, man. He did such a good job. Not gonna lie, I was kind of like, oh, cool, you guys write like a crusty death metal record, and don't ask the dude that plays fucking crusty death metal.
Yeah,
cool guys. All right, but you know, Zach fucking he runs True Brewing in Denver, and
that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's like one of the owners of that company. He plays at Chemist now, and like just toured with Trivium and shit. So like he's a busy dude.
Yeah.
And yeah, when 22 came around, Max and Igor started writing the next Go Ahead and Die record, but Zach just couldn't do it. He was too busy. And I was out camping with Igor at the time, and he was like, "Well, you just want to do it?" I was like, "Well, no shit, man. I want to do the first one." So yeah, let's do this.
Amazing.
Wow.
So on when we drove back from camping, you know, he played me all the demos that he had, and I had about 2 weeks to learn that whole record before having to go out to Arizona to track it.
Oh, geez.
So I fucking, dude, I that's all I listened to for about 2 weeks. And it's funny because Max has written music the same way since like the late 90s, early 2000s. He has this really old drum machine that he can plug everything into, and he just writes along to that. That's how he's done everything since, I'm pretty sure, like the first Soulfly record. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
And yeah, so like everything I listen to is just these rough recordings with like his like drum machine. It like sounds like fucking Godflesh the way that he does it.
Yeah.
And, I learned all those songs, and then went out to Arizona, and I actually recorded everything on my 29th birthday.
Wow.
That's when we started tracking drums, was on my 29th birthday. And yeah, man, it was a very surreal experience to, like, you know, I had toured with Max and hung out with him a bunch, but like to be in a studio with him, like he's sitting across from me playing scratch guitars while I'm tracking drums, and like that was like very intimidating, man. It was a very, very intimidating experience. Like he was cool about it, cool as a cucumber, but also he doesn't fuck around, man. Like there would be times that I would be struggling to keep up with the BPM because he likes to program drums like everyone else likes to program drums. Just make it fucking unplayable.
Yeah.
And, you know, there would be some parts that were really crazy to get through, and he'd be like, "Nah, man, do it. You can do it better. Like, you got to play that right." And like when fucking Max Cavalera there is like telling you to more or less just toughen the fuck up and get through it, you're like, all right, here we go.
Amazing.
Well, and he's used to Igor too. Like, you know, he's
exactly. But he got a great performance out of me. I'm super happy with how that record came out. And
it's wonderful, man.
Yeah, man.
It's really good.
Can we listen to a song?
Yeah, for sure.
Can we listen? Is there a song on Unhealthy Mechanisms that is like stands out to you?
My favorite is Tumors. That was the one that when Igor showed me the demos, I was like, oh, that's the one. It's like the first song we rehearsed, the first song we tracked in the studio. Like that's my favorite that we wrote together. Like that one fucking rules, man.
Let's
not Drugo Cop. Is that the one they did the video for?
That's Drugo Cop.
Drugo Cop.
That's where Max comes out dressed like the sheriff every night. We like close the set with that. Dude, I think it's fucking hilarious when he does it, man. I think it's so cool every time. Like you can tell Igor would get a little annoyed with it. He's like, okay, I thought we were gonna do this once or twice, but like every night, man. So loves it there, dude. He loves dressing up, and dude, he was enjoying all the random photo ops of him dressed up like that. Like I felt like the costume stayed on more every night.
Enjoyed it.
What's his name? Like Sheriff something?
Sheriff Buzzkill.
That's it. Sheriff Buzzkill. Yeah, it's crazy. All right, let's check out this song Tumors. This is from the most recent Go Ahead and Die record called Unhealthy Mechanisms, and this is our good friend Johnny on drums. Here we go. Tumors.
so fucking good.
Hell yeah.
I can see why that would be
Hell
your
yeah.
favorite song to play. That's
Yeah,
fun.
man, it's just such a fucking ripper, dude. Like that first riff is just total like the Napalm Death Scum era. Like,
Yeah.
I love that shit
Yeah,
so much.
so beautiful.
That's
You lived
awesome.
an extraordinary life, dude. Was there a guidepost for this shit? Were you just like, I mean, you just keep going and going, but was there
Like,
anybody that mentored you in any way as far as this life you're
Yeah,
living?
that's a great question.
no, not really, man. I mean, I more or less just like I can't even put it into words. Like this is kind of all I've ever really wanted, like
Yeah.
obviously, like the motocross thing was gonna be what I was gonna do, that was gonna be like my way of like making it in the world or whatever. And when that went away, like the obvious thing was like kind of music, like that was always, even when I was racing motocross, music was there. Anyway, that's what I would listen to pump me up. That's, what I would that was just always kind of around. So yeah, man, I guess like once that focus kind of shifted to music, it's just I got more and more into it, and it like I don't know, it's kind of all I've ever really known and what I've loved the longest. And like I don't know, it's kind of hard to put into words, but it's more or less just like it's just my dream, it's my passion. It's always been something that like I felt like I've been capable of doing, and I'm constantly pushing myself. I always say yes to like every opportunity that comes my way because who knows what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had I never responded to that message when Travis hit me up like, "Hey, I'm going to start this band with Igor Cavalera. Do you maybe want to like come try and jam?" Like I could have been like, "Nah," like I have shit going on, or I'm too busy. And had I never like even opened that message or ever went out there just to jam with them and like
Yeah.
see how things would unfold, like I never would have ended up being in a band with Max, or probably there's a lot of things that I wouldn't have done had I not said yes to certain situations.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you
and
100%. Yeah.
I just keep following through with it, man. Like especially now that I'm like teching and like working these bigger like pop gigs and like doing these arena shows and stuff, I'm kind of like, damn, like maybe metal's not the ceiling. Like I want to be able to live off of this stuff, man. Like I want to be able to like just play drums and play as many different kinds of music as I want and be able to just make a living out of it. And I'm close. I'm definitely not like I'm not completely there yet, but I'm closer than I've ever been, and I can say that every single year with absolute confidence and certainty. So
And being on the road and all that, how does that affect your work and your
dude,
life? And
so my work, it's like a backline company that that I just happen to tech for, and they're very supportive. Everybody there, knows the bands that I'm in. There's like my boss is like a big Blackbraid fan,
wow.
so like
That's
I'll
cool.
bring him Blackbraid merch and stuff, and like if I have like a tour to do or whatever, he's like, dude, let me know when you're back. And it's the first job that I haven't had to like quit to go on the road. Like
Yeah,
every
Yeah.
job I've had up until this job, I've pretty much had to be like, all right, well, see ya. Like, thanks for everything, but like nobody wants to let their employee leave for 2 months and then come back just like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, like work is super supportive. My girlfriend is fucking amazing and like constantly just pushes me to go out and be the best version of myself I can be. She knows this is my dream, and she
And
holds it the
we
hell
saw
down.
her on the road, so she must go with you sometimes.
Yeah, I try to bring her with me as often as I can. Obviously, she has her job and her career and stuff that she's doing, but any chance she gets, she comes out with me. Like she's gonna go to MDF with me this year.
Nice.
Last year she did merch for the Go Ahead and Die tour, and dude, she handled touring like a champ, man. I've seen people break after their first week.
I
Yeah.
imagine that's a hard life.
It's
Yeah,
nice.
I was going to
It's
ask you
like,
about
oh,
that
just
too.
wanna-
Like these tours with Blackbraid, maybe very different than this blistering rot stuff you're doing, or sorry, cerebral rot, or whatever it's called. I'm sorry, but living in a
cerebral rot
different
for a while.
living in a
Um,
different existence, with vans and transportation and accommodation.
Yeah, and like, dude, I love touring, man. I know for a lot of people it can get really exhausting, and it does. You miss the amenities of having your own bathroom to use every day, sleeping in your own bed. There's a lot of stuff that you kind of sacrifice, but for me, like, that's kind of part of it. Like, that's
Yeah.
part of like that's rock and roll to me. It's like, damn, dude, like I fell asleep in a different country last night. Like here I am, ready to do it all over again. it's exhausting, but it's fucking rewarding. You know,
Yeah.
there's days on tour where I'm like, I want nothing more than to like go home and like cuddle up with my dog and my girlfriend, watch movies and just chill. But it's like as soon as I step on stage and I see all those people just like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, like excited, knowing that they paid their money to like see the band that I'm playing with, like, dude, that's like the coolest thing in the world. When
Yeah,
I
it's
was
a
a
blessed
teenager,
it's a blessed
like,
feeling.
Yeah, you're
dude, yeah,
lucky
when I was a teenager, man, like that was like that's what I looked forward to, was just being able to go to shows and like watch these drummers that I looked up to and watch these bands that I was in love with. And like I get to kind of be on the other side of that now. And it's like, you know, kind of like when I was talking about like seeing Agalloch, like you probably had no idea there's this like 15, 16-year-old kid in there that this is like the greatest moment of his life. Like this
changing
was
their
like
lives. Yeah.
this was like my Iron Maiden, you know what I mean? Like this was
Yeah.
like the biggest thing in the world to me. And it's like to be on the other side of that now, and I get to see kids out in the crowd just like excited. Like, dude, like there's been times that, you know, I see kids like air drumming and stuff, and like, dude, that is the coolest thing in the world to me, man.
There's no other feeling like it.
Nothing.
It's like when you're in a position like that, you are so lucky to be able to experience that. And I think about that every time I perform, whether it's like with Moonbladder or Agalloch, you know, specifically with Agalloch, because it's a much larger thing than anything else I do. But still, just like the act of like being on tour and getting to live like that, and you see the joy that you're bringing to people, and you see like it's a blessed existence. Like people don't get to live like this and experience these things. And yeah, I feel lucky every time I go out.
That is a very, very big thing too that you touched on, is like a lot of these people that come to these shows, like this is their time out. They don't get to go out a whole lot. Some of these people have, you know, careers or families or things that prevent them from going out often. This might be the only time they go out this month or within a few months span or whatever. Like this is like a big deal for them to be able to come out. And like, yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing to be able to be a part of that and like meet those people and like see those people just get so excited and just completely let loose and just like be just carried away by the music. And like the fact that music can be that powerful, and that
Amazing.
it's something to bring us all together and make people feel that way, make people that, you know, don't have much time or much money, but they'll spend their money on that fucking concert ticket and take time out of their day to go and watch that show. Like, it's the coolest fucking thing in the world.
It's a humbling thing too. Like the first time Agalloch played in Romania, you know, we met these fans in Bucharest, and they're like, you know, I didn't eat for a week so I could buy this ticket. You know, I sold my TV so I could buy this ticket. Like people who, you know, especially in a place like Romania, it's just there's all these boundaries to entry, and they're sacrificing so much just to see your show. It's not like we're playing in New York City and it's like, oh, here I am in a different show. You know, I'm going to 2 shows a week. It's like,
this is very special. Yeah.
Very, very special. And people make like sacrifices of like starving themselves to like come see you perform. It's insanely humbling.
Yeah, it's the coolest feeling.
You
in the
never
world,
want to
man.
lose that perspective. I think if you lose the perspective, that bitterness or whatever it becomes of musicians, when that does happen to some people.
Yeah, man, and I've seen egos form, you know, with people that didn't
Yeah.
really have one before they start getting attention like that, or, you know, finally like someone's paying attention to their band and all of a sudden they think they're gods or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like that shit keeps me humble, because I see people act like that, and to me that's like the ugliest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you should be fortunate that people even go out of their way to listen to your band, let alone pay a fucking ticket fee to come and watch you, you know, like take time out of their day to go stand in a smelly venue for fucking 3 hours and watch you play.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, and people kind of take that for granted. And, you know, like obviously like I haven't done the biggest things in the world, but like I'm proud of what I've accomplished. And
You've accomplished
I think
a lot.
if certain other people had been in my shoes, they'd probably be arrogant about it and probably like boast to all their friends. And it's like, that's never been me, man. Like, you know, recently a company that endorses me got on me about not posting enough and not making enough like content and like playing. And it's like, dude, that's never been me. I don't like to brag. I don't like to like put myself out there like that. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I think seeing people that are like that and like, hey, look at me and look at the cool shit I'm doing. It's like, that makes me want to stay humble, and it makes me kind of appreciate just like I don't know, just like the camaraderie of all of it, and like the people that are doing this for the right reasons and the people that do it for the love, not for the attention. not
Right.
for the clout or whatever. Like you should do this shit because it makes you feel good, and no other reason. Like you shouldn't do it to make other people happy. You should do it to like make yourself happy. And
Yep.
if you doing that makes other people happy, then you've won.
Yep.
You've won.
And it's win-win, man. It's hard. I mean, it's easy to fall into that trap though. Like if you're touring Europe for 5 weeks or whatever and sold out shows every night and thousands of people like singing along with your songs, you're getting free food and autographs and you're making money. It's like, it's so easy to fall into that egocentric hole. But I've definitely been there where I feel like there was a point in time when Agalock was just like really blowing up, maybe like around Marrow or something. And we didn't really go down that path, but I definitely felt like that pull. You know?
Could have, man. There was talk about maybe doing a prolonged tours, people had jobs and shit, but kids, but you could have embraced it all in that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
we guys didn't. It's impressive.
It honestly, like, I mean, good for you guys, but being the like gatekeeping teenager I was, that shit pissed me off. I'm like, no, stop, no, like.
Yeah. Totally.
Oh, yeah, but it was around Marrow. I think around the time you guys put out Faustian Echoes too. Like you guys were touring quite a bit, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think it's an easy trap to fall into, but I think even like the most like humble, like down to earth people can fall into that trap. But I think that, it takes a certain like mental agility and mental power to be able to like kind of recognize that and then be like, oh, like, okay, like I this could like disappear at any moment, and I think like, especially for Agalock, like once we did break up, it was like, wait a second, I'm never going to do this again. Like I'm never going to play in front of thousands of people again.
Yeah, that's
like,
a grief. That's a mourning you were going through.
Oh man. Yeah. And so now that we've reformed, it's like, I feel like we're all much more humble than we were before. 'Cause it was like Cinderella said, you don't know what you got till it's gone.
Is that what she says? Wow.
Oh, no, the band. Yeah.
The band.
The band. Not Cinderella, the person. Yeah.
Like, wow, you've been watching Disney movies too.
No. The band.
Yeah, right. I'm with you, bro.
Yeah. Come on. Keep up with me. Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're I hate the term, but you're living the dream right now, Johnny.
I have one more question, dude, and it's about like how you stay healthy. You're a fucking athlete, what you're doing up there is drummers are exceptional in that way, and I'm wondering how you take care of yourself. And as I'm almost 50 now myself, it's very important to me. And I'm, as beers are cutting down, all these things. I think you're sober now too, which probably helps.
Yeah. It's funny, man, because for years, like I wouldn't really take very good care of myself at all. I mean, I kind of came up in the grindcore and like crust punk scene, and that and alcohol go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I always used to joke, when I'd see people warm up before playing shows, I'm like, oh well, I do my 12-ounce lifts, drinking beers.
Waterloo. Now it's 12 ounces of Waterloo, dude.
Yeah.
Crush Waterloo these days. But yeah, man, I started touring and doing stuff by drinking excessively, and like, dude, I smoked cigarettes from the time I was 14 up until I was like 29.
Wow.
Never really took very good care of myself. But around the time I started doing Blackbraid, like 2022, 2023, I kind of started to notice like, damn, like I don't feel really good, and like I'm starting to like gas out, and kind of back on what I was talking about earlier about like seeing kids in the crowd and like, putting myself in their shoes.
Yeah. I
started feeling like, damn, like maybe I'm like letting some people down, and like, people are coming to see us, and like I'm not giving it 110% like I should be. Like I'm like still hungover from last night, and like feeling like crap all the time. And yeah, man, I decided that if I wanted to do this for a long time, and I'm finally having like my dreams more or less start coming true. Like I don't want to piss that all away because I like having a good time,
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, around like the end of 2023, like a month before I turned 30, I stopped drinking, and I'd like to say I quit smoking cigarettes, but they find me every time I end up in Europe. I've been sober like a little over a year and a half now. I am obsessed with going to the gym. I actually like just got home from the gym like right before I did this with you guys, and dude, I've been so obsessed with like taking care of myself and like practicing drums like a fucking maniac, and like watching what I eat, like not eating any fried food, nothing with like added sugar, and
Does that
like I'll
change
have like
the life on the road, kind of partying
yeah,
after?
entirely, man. I guess I'll speak for my bandmates here. I'm a little more grumpy now when everybody's partying and like, just being loud as fuck at night. Cause I'm the type like I'll get off stage, I'll take a shower, then I'm just gonna like go watch a movie or like go lay in my bunk. Like I have no interest in like going out to bars or anything. That being said, I feel amazing every day. Like, like some of my bandmates are, a little newer to the touring. So, they go for it a little more with the partying and stuff. And it's kind of funny because I used to be like all day hangover, and now I like wake up in the morning and I'm like, let's get breakfast. And everybody just feels like
Yeah.
shit.
All chirpy and shit.
Yeah.
All chirpy and like, dude, it's made my playing better. Like I used to come home from a tour and like almost feel like I needed to like detox for a couple weeks, and just like I'd get sick and like
Wow.
it felt like crap all the time, man. And like,
Yeah.
dude, now I come home from tour and I'm back at work in like 2 days.
Nice.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I have a day to like nap and just like, order in some food and like be kind of lazy, and then it's like it's right back to the grind, man. And dude, it's been awesome. And once I started kind of like honing in on taking care of myself, like being a little more serious as a musician, like more gigs have been coming my way, and like more serious gigs, more like better paying gigs, things that I never really think I would have obtained had I not been in this mindset. Because I treat this stuff a lot differently now. Like it used to just be like a big party and like, I'm gonna go until the fucking wheels fall off. But now I feel a little more cool, calm, and collected, and like I kind of have like a plan. So yeah, man, it's been awesome. The way that I currently feel and the way that things are going, like I could see myself doing this for the rest of my life, man.
Yeah.
So long as the gigs keep coming and people are willing to work with me still, and people like what I'm doing, like I'm never gonna stop, man.
And your
I
body's
honestly
good, the shoulders and your feet and everything.
dude, yeah, nothing like that at all.
Nice.
I since I've been focusing more on like technique and doing more rudiments and stuff like that, it's actually pulled a lot of strain that I would feel like, towards the end of the Go Ahead and Die tour, like my wrist started popping. Just I could just do that and my wrist will start cracking, which
Yeah.
never fucking happened before. I had to play drums every night for like 3 months. But part of me learning rudiments and actually like working out and taking better care of myself, like any of that stuff has kind of gone away, and like I have a little better technique, a little better posture now. Like I'm not like things aren't as like faster tempos aren't as strenuous anymore. And yeah, man, I feel good, and I'm thankful because I know a couple people that have done some touring for like a month or so, and they come home and their bodies are just wrecked. And, I
Yeah,
can't play drums like that anymore. I can't tour like that. And I'm very, very fortunate that I haven't had anything like that. And I think me stopping the partying and drinking and like self-destructive behavior when I did was like the right time, because I did it right before I turned 30. I kind of feel like my 30s are just like my 20s, but I know what I'm doing this time around,
Yep.
and
Yep.
yeah, man, I'm just trying to make the absolute most of it. And I don't know, I'm kind of obsessed with like taking care of myself. Like being healthy like feels good. I like waking up in the morning and like having energy, and like
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know, I'm excited to like pick up a pair of sticks and practice. I'm excited to like go to the gym. I'm excited to like eat a healthy breakfast. Like
And that's all because
get
your
the
mind
get
is clear, you're able to
Yep.
do that.
Yep.
wake up, smoke a cigarette, and sugar Red Bull, and try to get through work. And
Yeah.
just like the partying just bled into my life when I wasn't partying. I just treated my body like crap, man. I'm thankful that it didn't get to the point where I like couldn't play drums, or like now
Yeah,
I'm like
exactly.
having like issues or whatever. But like, nah, man, like everything's been great.
Yeah.
I've
Well,
just been,
good on you for doing this when you're turning 30 and
Yeah,
not when you're
exactly.
turning 40 or turning 50
Yep.
or, I mean, you're like your story is not necessarily unique in the way of like being a touring musician that started taking care of themselves, but usually people do it a decade or two later than
When
you
something bad
started.
happens, or
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And like, like right around the time I had stopped drinking, one of my high school buddies, he had actually drank himself to death like
Oh, jeez.
a couple weeks before I had, made the decision to stop. And, that kind of played a role. It was like, damn, like someone that I used to drink heavily with when I was like first starting to drink in my late teens, early 20s, that person's no longer here because they just couldn't stop. Like the party just didn't end for them. And you know, for some people, the party ends when you fucking die. And like, I
Yeah.
want to be able to enjoy my life. Like, I have a fucking beautiful girlfriend, a fucking beautiful dog.
Yep.
I love where I live. You know, I live, like, living in LA has enabled me to have a job fucking drum teching and getting all these gigs that I've had outside of that. And like, you know, like, my life is pretty cool, man. And I feel like I would just be doing myself a disservice by continuing to party and
For sure.
continuing to just like focus on like the party aspect instead of like the grind and the shit that brought me here in the first place, man. Hard work
Exactly.
brought me here. Fucking pounding beers didn't, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
No,
That's for sure.
that's a great perspective, man. Again, it's like you are ahead of the game on that. Like, you know, I feel like now at my age and like the people I grew up with, like in death metal and stuff, you see them like, you know, you see some of them dying, but for the most part, you see them just like getting to the point, like what you said, like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't play anymore. And like I said, this is a blessed existence. You need to take care of yourself so you can continue to.
It's his dream. This
to
is
do
your
this.
fucking passion.
Yeah.
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 Exactly.
I
wanna-
Exactly. And, you know, like, I just like, it's the anniversary of his death, and I fucking love the band to death. But like LG Petrov, man, like,
Oh man,
you know, he got
I
got
know.
cancer and stuff, but like, homeboy was like still smoking cigarettes all the time, and like, you know, just it seemed like the party
Well,
kept going. Like,
He was
he did what he
pounding
had to.
beers and
He
yeah.
didn't know how to stop.
It's
Yeah.
like, you know, like, I feel like that's usually the point where people would stop, and it's like, I don't want to end up like that. You know what I mean? Like, dude's a legend, and you know, everything he did, like, I have nothing but respect for. But like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be one of those people that gets like a serious diagnosis like that, and then it's like, oh well, I already have it. What am I gonna do? You know, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna keep it fucking going.
Yeah.
And I want to live, man, and that's a new thing. When I was drinking and partying all the time, living, I didn't really give a shit. I'm just gonna, you know, fucking pedal to the metal, and what happens happens. So now I'm like, damn, I like kind of like feeling good. I kind of like, you know, like, I'm gonna start golfing and shit again.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
I'm like, damn, it's like nice out. I feel good. I think I'll golf again, man. I don't know. I just want to live, man. And I did so many things to my body for so long that were preventing me from doing that. So yeah, man, it's like I'm seeing life through new eyes. And since I've been like taking music a little more seriously too, it's like music's like starting to like even sound different to me. And like, I don't know, I feel like I'm just like on this weird evolution right now, and like it feels good, man. So I'm just rolling with it, and seeing what happens from here.
That's awesome, man. So what's next for you? You have any? Are you playing a show tonight? Did I see that?
Yeah, so
course he is.
Yeah.
my bass player, they're fucking blowing me up in the group chat right now. I can see it. Bass player in Blackbraid, he has a solo project called Goods for Lot.
Oh, cool.
It's like, the way I always explain it to people, it's like if Thin Lizzy were black metal.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
It's really cool shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has an album called Friendship, Love, and War, which is like, to me, like one of the best black metal records to come out in the last few years. Like, it's seriously incredible.
Write
shit.
down, Nick.
I'm trying right
yeah.
now. I
Yeah,
don't know.
so
I know
I,
what he said though for the band.
Goods for Lot. GUDSFORLADT.
Wow. Some kind of Swedish word or something.
It's
I
a
think it's
mouthful.
like God Forsaken in Dutch, if I'm
In
not
Dutch,
mistaken.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really cool shit. And so I play live drums for it. And tonight is probably like our last gig for a long time. Our guitar player recently got married and is like moving back to Boston. And he grew up with David, who's like, it's his band, it's his solo project. And he's kind of like, I think I'm just gonna like put it to rest for a little while, and we'll get a live lineup later on. So yeah, we're doing that tonight. That's like our last gig for a while, and then yeah, we're coming up your guys' way in a few weeks with Blistering Rot.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully you guys will.
I got March
come out for
28th
that.
on the calendar. Fuck yeah, I'm gonna be there. For
Yeah,
sure.
so I'll be seeing you guys up there. Yeah, Blistering
March
Rot, and then
28th.
in April, I'm filming some stuff for the new Haggis record, and then
Who's gonna
the end
put
of
that
April,
out? Are you guys gonna release that? too?
that's going out on Tank Crimes.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're doing some shit for that. And then at the end of April, Blackbraid is doing a Gathering of the Nations. It's like the largest powwow in North America.
Wow.
awesome.
So we're
Wow.
doing that in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
What was it
And
like
we
to
fl-
film that video in the desert, dude? It reminded me of Season of the Abyss or something. where they're
Holy shit,
up
man.
each-
That was so I was running on like an hour of sleep in that video because I played drums for that band Cerebral Rot for a couple of tours.
Oh,
So I had gone out to the East Coast for the Cerebral Rot Dead Congregation tour.
Oh.
And we played Metal Threat in Chicago. I literally left the stage at Metal Threat, went to the airport, got on a fucking airplane, had like 3 layovers getting back to LA, slept for like 2 fucking hours, and then had to meet up with the Blackbraid dudes to drive up to oh god damn it, Joshua Tree.
Nice.
Up here in the desert, and dude, I was so fucking tired that day. It was like 110 fucking degrees.
I can't
It
believe
was
it. It's
so
pretty cool.
hot
Cool
outside.
fucking video though, dude.
Dude, it was really fun filming that. We were super fucking green and like we were like blasting the song from 2 different cars, like trying to start them at the right time so we could like all go into our parts. Like
Yeah.
it was super janky, and like we were just like crushing like hot Modelos out in the desert sun in between takes, and like gnarly, man. But that was a really really fun video shoot.
It's
That was
epic, man.
fun.
It's really great. I love it.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm going to be down in LA in May. Are you going to be around for that Emperor Agalloch show?
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool.
Dude, I'm absolutely going to go to that.
I can't remember the date. It's like May 17th or 16th.
I think it's May 17th. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Cool. Yeah, so I'll see you down there for sure.
Dude, hell yeah.
I just put your date that you're here on the calendar. It's March 28th, you said?
March 28th.
Yes, March
Yep.
28th.
Okay, cool. I'm pretty sure I can make that. So Nick and I will come bug you. Where is it?
I think it's at
Twilight Room?
Twilight.
Yeah.
Oh, the new Twilight. I haven't been to the new
Twilight,
Twilight yet.
Dude, so while I have you here, did you go to the Asphyx show in Portland in 2017?
Yeah,
yes.
at Tonic Lounge, I
At
believe
Tonic
it was.
Lounge, yeah.
Yep.
Tonic, that's what I was going to ask, what the name of
Yeah.
that venue was. I
Yeah,
can
it's
never
gone
remember
now.
the name of that
Yeah.
place. Dude, that place was cool. I really
Yeah,
liked
it was.
that place.
It was
Oh
awesome.
man, that place was the best.
It was
Yeah.
great.
I
That
love
place
that
was
was
incredible.
that was
Did
a
you
great,
play that show?
great
Were you
place.
there that day?
Yeah, I was playing drums for Skeletal Remains at that tour.
Oh, you
Oh,
were?
at that show.
we saw
Yeah.
this
Shit.
guy. We
Oh,
saw
that's so
this
funny. That's so funny. I remember Skeletal playing that show,
Yeah,
but
me too.
yeah.
I was
man.
playing drums for Skeletal Remains on that tour.
Amazing.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's when my buddy Ladd came down for that show too.
Yeah, we hung out
Hellshock,
with Martin a little
us, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was Hellshock, us, and then Asphyx.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like we've been in the room together for like a couple different times and I didn't even know.
A couple different times over the years.
That's crazy. Huh. Yeah, well, do you have anything else coming up, like show-wise or any records or?
Dude, so just that Haggis record on Tank Crimes. I'm trying to push for us to do another Go Ahead and Die record, but
Okay.
they're doing a lot of Cavalera stuff this year,
totally.
and it seems like that list continues to grow. So, yeah, they're going to be doing their own thing. Blackbraid has like a bunch of European one-offs that we're doing, like. Straight from Gathering of the Nations in New Mexico, we fly to Greece for a couple shows at the end of April. We're doing 2 shows in Greece. We fly out to Switzerland for Black Hole Fest.
Nice.
Then from there, we fly to the UK for, I believe it's Incineration Fest in the UK. And then, from there, I come home for 2 days, and then we head back up north with Blistering Rot. We're touring with Rip to Shreds from San Jose. So,
Okay.
we're going back up to Seattle and back.
Nice.
In May, and then nothing really concrete until the end of the year, but and I'm staying busy, absolutely staying busy. There's
Seems like it.
no shortage of stuff. Yeah. Haggis just announced a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to be doing too. So yeah, man, it's going to be a busy year, but
And
I'm
I
all
think,
for it.
like you said, living in LA has probably offered a lot of opportunities for you to do different
it really
things.
did.
You know?
I definitely miss like the quiet, like farm town vibes of Fresno. Like I was just there last weekend, and it was like, dude, so no traffic. Like
Yeah.
got to eat some of my favorite food. Like it was really cool, but like this place has like afforded me to live out some of my wildest fucking dreams, and just like I never thought I would be playing Carcass songs on Rod Stewart's drum kit and be into it now. You know what I mean? Like that's just, my life has been so fucking crazy and random, and I have ended up in places that most people from my town can only dream of doing, and it's funny when I go back now because everyone's like, oh, Johnny's like fucking traveling the world and doing all this shit, and like yeah, man. So I'm
That's
really
reverse.
thankful
That's called
for-
reverse culture shock. Yes.
Yeah,
That's tough.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's tough.
But yeah, man, it's definitely cool to come from somewhere so small and humble and like move somewhere like this where a lot of people aren't, and just I don't know, I still keep that small town mentality. I still try to like, keep it humble, look out for my buddies, look out for the people I care about. Yeah,
Well,
man, I love
really,
living here.
really admire you, dude. You are a hard worker, and you fucking stuck to this. This is your dream, your passion. A lot of us, I can talk about myself personally, push aside some things to have responsibilities, jobs, kids, all these things. So you're doing it, man, and that's a lot of hard work. So good job.
Thanks, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, so far my responsibility is keeping this little hound dog alive right
Nice.
here. But
Good.
Yeah, man, that's great. Yeah, so stoked for you. Looks like it's just onwards and upwards for you. And yeah, thanks so
That's the
much for
plan,
joining
man.
us on
Dude.
this podcast, man.
Yeah, thank
it
you,
is
man.
an absolute honor to do this with you guys. This is the first thing like this I've ever really gotten to do, and
Oh, really?
I
Oh.
really, really, truly appreciate you guys having me
Oh,
on
man.
here.
Awesome.
It means
I
the
know-
world to me.
We've been talking about it for probably like a year or so,
At least,
but
yeah.
yeah, like it was, yeah, like shit's just been getting in the way. And then I feel like when we first talked about it, I didn't really have this dialed in very well to do remotely. And now it's not 100%, but I'd say it's a good 85 to 90%.
Dude, I'd say
so-
this was pretty smooth, man.
Yeah.
We got through this.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, we should definitely. I know we tried meeting up to get some food before the Go Ahead and Die show, and it didn't work out. But maybe when
Yeah.
I'm up there in a few weeks, we can try get some food or something before the
That'd be
gig, if
great.
You guys are
Yeah, that'd be
free.
great. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'll text you, and I'm sure we can make it happen. I mean, Twilight is close enough; it's walkable to a few different places.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be good. But yeah,
All
man.
for it.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you in a few weeks. And again, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, John.
Dude, of course. Thank you guys so much for having me on, man. You guys have been nothing but fucking cool, and yeah, man, I look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of weeks.
Yep. Awesome.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, man.
All right, you dudes have a good one, man.
Later.
See you guys.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Later.
So good.
That's
Let's
great.
do a recap here. That was amazing. He, yeah, like I said at the end, I really admire that somebody can stick to their dream like that, and
Oh man,
his
I know.
opportunities are coming more and more. He's focused,
Yeah. And he's just like, I like that focus. It's like I kept saying, like people usually do this when they're like our age.
Yeah.
You know, and to do that when you're turning 30, that's remarkable.
Oh, that getting healthy and all that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
he's probably realized it's his moneymaker is his body. He better take good care of it.
For
He's
sure.
a fucking athlete, dude.
Yeah,
Jesus.
especially the drummer.
Yeah,
Jesus.
exactly.
I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, it's hard enough just like drinking a bunch of beers and touring and being like a bass player.
Yeah.
But like
yeah.
as fucking I can't imagine just like eating like shit and drinking and smoking. Like smoking, I think would be like one of the biggest ones. Just lung capacity and
It makes you wonder how like Pete Sandoval is still doing or something, somebody like
I
that.
know.
Because I think he's probably still hitting it, maybe. I don't know. I have no idea what his diet is.
I
but-
don't either. But like Hellhammer, I mean, I'm not sure about smoking, but Hellhammer is like fucking just guzzling whiskey all the time. Like, how do you do that and play like Hellhammer?
At that point, maybe you're like a genetic freak or something, like a lot of
Well,
athletes are.
I think the cocaine balances out the whiskey for Hellhammer. So,
Oh shit, you're starting rumors, bro.
well, it's not a rumor. I've seen this shit happen. Maybe the cocaine overpowers the whiskey.
Is
I
that
don't
a
know.
thing, a tour code that you just broke though? You got to keep the secrets of the tour.
Oh yeah, I'll edit
Probably
that out. Yeah, I don't think that's a secret. I think
Okay,
that's
nice,
yeah.
nice.
I mean, maybe it is. I don't
That's
know.
probably Pete Sandoval's successful
maybe.
reason too. It must
Maybe.
be.
Because he was great. Like saw him a couple months ago. He was still like on fire.
Yeah,
Still a
exactly.
great drummer.
Makes you wonder how he does it, or how anybody over 50 can fucking keep that up,
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody or reading an article. Somebody talking about drumming as they were like aging, and they were talking about how they found out like ways to cheat. What the fuck was that? I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was a Decibel article or something. But they were talking about not necessarily cheating, but just like dropping beats here and there. What was that?
Yeah, well,
Man,
that's
I can't
what
remember that.
Nico was doing for Iron Maiden, and you could tell the song
Yeah.
sounded different. He was the
Yeah.
weakest link out of all of it, and now he's retired.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was becoming obvious. But he was 70 something, which is even more incredible.
Jesus, that
you
is
know?
incredible.
But
Yeah, man, I wish I could remember what that was. It was, I feel like I was reading something from a drummer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's pretty common
But-
as they get older. I'm sure it's hard.
It's just so. I mean, just watching Hunter or Aesop, like after an Agalloch show, like Aesop used to take his shirt off and just wring out the sweat backstage, like literally, like just
And you guys aren't
out.
constant blast beats or anything like that. Imagine what Johnny's doing, dude.
I know.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot, man. It's insane.
That's a good kid right there, that Johnny.
He's a good kid. Yeah, I like.
I mean, at that point, he's 20 years younger than us.
Yeah, he is kind of like it's crazy. He said born in '93. Yeah. I'm like, oh shit. Like '93 was like the highlight of death metal.
I was thinking about that with the death metal. We saw death metal evolve as it was happening, you know, and I wonder if you go back and you look at those years between 90 and 98 or whatever, and how much things had changed. If you're a kid and you're looking at that, I don't know. I think you could speed it up to very quickly saying, I only like things in the early 90s, but we were still evolving with those bands, you know. Eventually we left around 98, like, because that's when most of them went kind of shitty. But I don't know. I don't know what my point is there, but I think it stayed up with us longer because we were actually living through it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I find it so interesting that he was born in '93 and his first death record was Scream Bloody Gore.
That blew my mind. I thought for sure he was going to say Sound of Perseverance or something.
Or something like that. Yeah. I mean, that's because that's usually what happens. It's like you hear the newest one, the most recent one, and then you go back. But and it's crazy to me to like be so into like old school death metal, but not having lived in that period of time. Like, I know that shit happens, obviously, but it's really interesting to me. It's like, if I were to talk to Johnny about music, I wouldn't necessarily know that he was...
No, he's our age. Yeah. So what's that all about? How does that happen?
Well,
how are kids being exposed? How was that band that he saw playing Scream Bloody Gore? It's fucking crazy because they were all probably in their teens, you know, in 2002 or whatever. No, even later, 2008.
Do you think it's because that period around like Human and all that shit, the early 90s? Do you think it's because it's considered like the glory days of death metal that people are like, if they're going back in time, it's like that's what they check out is like,
I think so.
That's when death metal was.
Is that what the publications are saying? Is that what magazines like? What's telling them to do that? When you look at maybe there's a rankings of music, you know, for each band, and Cannibal Corpse would be Tomb of the Mutilated and Death Would Be Human. So they look at that and they're like, oh, these are their best albums. That's around the same year. So maybe that's
so.
How they do it. I don't know.
I mean,
it makes me. It's similar. Sorry to interrupt. It makes me think about like what tourists see in Portland or something. You know, what books are they reading that make them go to obviously Powell's or stuff like that, but Voodoo Donuts, you know, these just kind of restaurants and places. What makes them go there? And we should be looking at the tour book to see, or the guidebook to see what they're doing. It's a similar kind of thing.
I think so, and it happens to me with Jori too. I think Jori was born in. I don't remember. Late 80s, early 90s. He's around that age, approximately.
Probably about the same, yeah.
But about the same. But the same thing happens with me. It's like I'll be talking to him about Carcass or something, and it's like he seems my age.
Yeah.
But then if I ask, like, what's your entry point? He's like, oh, the first one I heard was Heartwork or something like that. And it dates him a little bit.
Well, they've just had to do a lot more work, I think, because we were living through it. We kind of could absorb it as it was happening rather than looking back. You kind of have to do a lot more research.
Yeah, and I'm really bummed about this. I meant to ask him because we touched on a little bit of like this age thing with him being into nu metal and then extreme metal, Slipknot and stuff, and that's like. In my world, those two worlds don't meet. Nu metal and extreme metal, they don't meet.
Don't you think that Slipknot's pretty adjacent to a lot of extreme bands, though?
For sure,
and heard that enough.
And they're death metal people, like they were in death metal bands and stuff. But still, like those worlds don't really meet in the circles that I run in. But with the younger kids, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Like it does. And I should have asked him about Death Clock.
Yeah. Fuck. He's the ripe age. I guarantee he's seen all of it. He knows about it, and he's probably a fan.
Yeah.
That's just my theory. Call him back.
Yeah. God damn it, Johnny, get back on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's an age thing. Yeah.
Not that I really want to talk about Death Clock again, but
I mean, at this point, we're gonna make it part of the drinking game.
God damn it. Yeah.
You brought it up.
But it would be cool to get his point of view. I bet that he is a fan. And I bet he could speak to that really well.
He would have, yeah. Damn it. missed our
we
opportunity.
should. Maybe we can get him back on for like a little shorty or something at some point.
That'd be good.
Or he can maybe email us or something. I don't know, but it would be interesting to like get his opinion on it because he's a death metal guy that knows the old school shit, but he's younger.
Surely he grew up on new metal. Surely all his friends were listening to new metal. A lot of them. Somehow he pushed further and beyond that. That's really cool. I don't know how it works.
Yeah. And for me, like when Slipknot got popular, I'm old enough where I was like, I want to check this out because they talked about like death metal bands. They talked about Bungle, and I remember I bought one of the CDs when it came out just to like see what it was like. I'm like, oh, this is not for me at all.
Yeah, me
this
either.
is not my jam. But like I know that Johnny considers Jori Jordison like one of his favorite drummers ever. So it's interesting that these younger kids have those influences that are like kind of like forbidden in our worlds.
Yeah, exactly. But whatever they are, newer influences, hopefully those bands are talking about their influences, and that leads
I think they are.
That leads the fans to check them out as well.
I think so.
Awesome.
Yeah,
seems like it.
Yeah.
I mean, if it weren't for like a lot of there was like a Dangerous Toys band picture where he was wearing the death picture or death. He was wearing a death shirt.
That's right.
Shirts and band photos and these kind of things influence us in the way we check out bands.
Well,
that's how we were.
We were. Oh my God, I bought so many records based off of T-shirts and band photos.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Dangerous Toys, that was Jason McMasters from Watchtower.
Yeah, exactly.
It's obviously they're extreme metal, and
it's so different. Dangerous Toys,
so different. Like I mean, I'm sure I've listened to Dangerous Toys.
Can't
but
even that song really Scared. That was their hit. But,
yeah.
But you can't even comprehend it's the same guy. It's insane.
I didn't know until fairly recently that it was the same guy.
Well, we saw them at
Hell's Heroes, which is like this month, I think, right?
Yeah, that was like a year ago now. Crazy.
Damn, that was fun.
And that's cool. His band Haggis is playing at MDF. Gotta check them out.
And we're not going. Jesus Christ. I know. I mean, it'll be cool what we're doing anyway. But
yeah, should we go next year? Maybe it's like an every other year thing.
Yeah, I would go
depending
next
on
year.
your tour schedule, of course. But
yeah, I would like to go again for sure. Maybe we can get Cynic to do Focus again there.
Just for us.
Yeah, just a little private concert. All right, man, this is great.
Right. That was awesome.
As always.
Yeah. Pleasure.
Yeah, I will talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
All right, keep in touch. Bye.
Bye.